Alright, so we've got an issue on the Mercedes. The tachometer started getting to be where it was intermittent, and I wasn't sure if it was the gauge or not, and then it completely stopped working, and when it did, the AC quit working. And at first I didn't connect the dots, then I actually started doing a little bit of reading, and this thing gets a input from the tachometer that goes to the climate relay right there, little black box. And what that does is it keeps the AC compressor from coming on unless the engine's at a certain RPM. And so that's what's going on there. Since that's not getting a tach signal, it's not allowing the AC compressor to come on. So I did verify that, like I said, the tach it's kind of intermittent. When it is working, the AC works. That tells me that it's not the gauge itself, but it's something else. And I'll kind of go over a few steps on some troubleshooting. Now, this is an 85, so the 84 and below are different. They have a completely different tach setup. I think they don't have that climber relay. Completely different setup. I'm not real familiar with the pre-85 stuff. I'm not finding a whole lot of information on 85 because it's kind of oddball. I'm not gonna say it's oddball, but you know, it's just not as common, I guess, because I don't know what kind of system they used after 85, but for this 85, you know, it just doesn't seem as common as the older stuff, and you don't see as much information. So this terminal right here goes down. There's or from what I'm reading, I think the pre-85 stuff uses a signal from the front of the crankshaft, and this actually has all that wiring. I'm not sure what they use it for, but if you look, this wire right here runs over to the front, way down there. Trying to see if you can see that wire where it goes down, but I'm gonna take my word for it. It goes down there, comes up to here. I think on a pre-85, you would have a thing that plugs in here. So I'm not sure if they just use this as like a diagnostics port or something, but it is not. Oh, no, it's not this wire. I guess it's this one, I think. Yeah, this one. No, oh, I guess maybe they use that one for the cruise, maybe? No, that doesn't plug in there. I don't know. Yeah, it's this wire, but on 85, they use a sensor on the bell housing, and it comes up and plugs in right here. And so you can look it up online. You can unplug this, you check the ohms, and then you check it not running. But I don't think my issue's here. Reason being, since it is intermittent, I will show you what I've found out. I pulled this panel off because there's this relay right here. There's a fuse on it, and people have said that this fuse goes bad, and that will keep the tach from working. That fuse right there. And I didn't think the fuse was bad because, like I said, it's intermittent, so you don't really, you know, the fuse is gonna be just not working. But I pulled this panel off just to check and make sure there was no dirty contacts on this relay. Everything looked good. But when I just left the panel off so I could do some more troubleshooting, and with the panel off, I could hear this relay clicking when the tach would kind of work and not work. And so that got me thinking that the issue, put this back, was probably, I mean, it could be the relay itself. I kind of doubt it though. It's where this relay is getting its signal, which I think comes from there's under here. Let me turn on the light. So for my research, under here, there's like an EGR computer, an EGR controller type deal that the Tach signal goes through. Get that out of the way. So we're going to pull this panel off and see if we can find it and see if maybe it has some dirty contacts, or it could have. We'll pull it off and maybe see if it has bad solder joints. I've run across several. The climate relay had bad solder joints. My climate control had bad solder joints, and repaired the solder joints. Both of them are working perfectly now. So maybe we've got bad solder joints in here. You know, 30 plus years of you know, rattling around, we could have some bad solder joints. So let me pull this panel off and we'll take a look. So to get that panel off, there is a screw down here. Take that screw out. And of course, take the carpets out first. Take that screw out and you can get to it. So here it is. This is it's like the EGR computer. And we've got a plug right here that we need to undo, and looks like we probably push up on this. Yeah, push up on that, then it comes unplugged, and look at that. Look at those contacts. I would say that's a likely cause of our issues. So we're going to clean this up real good. I think I've got a can of deoxit. Let's see if we can clean it up with that. And then we will see if that fixes our issue. But since it is intermittent, I think that that's probably going to fix it. And the EGR stuff on here is not hooked up, at least the vacuum to it. And so I'm okay with, you know, all I need is for the Tach to work, really. I don't really care about the EGR part of this, so I'm not going to tear into this thing and look for bad solder joints unless we still have Tach issues. So let me fix this. Hopefully that'll fix our issue. If I need to, I'll tear into this thing and, you know, see if it's got bad solder joints or bad capacitors or whatever. We'll also check this thing and see if it may have that looks good. A little bit of corrosion on it, but not bad. So we'll go ahead and leave it off. I'll clean it as well. Might as well. So let's let me get this thing cleaned up. Alright. Quite a bit of work, and I'll show you what I did. But AC is working again. Compressor's on, and of course we've got a working Tach. Here's what we got. So the EGR computer is just a pass-through. I've been doing quite a bit of research, and let me turn the light on. You're not gonna be able to see down in there, but this terminal, the pins on this terminal are pretty much shot. And they're so corroded they're pretty much gone. So I think this was just a test. I think the next step, I might leave it like this for a while, make sure everything works good, because it's working right now. And the next step will be just to splice these 4 wires together. But I found somebody who did the hard work on a forum, and they did this and got theirs working. I was worried that the AC compressor still wouldn't work, but it does. So evidently after it passes through the EGR computer, then it goes to the climate and it goes to the gauge. The wiring diagrams I saw coming out of the EGR computer, it said it went to the gauge, you know, the tachometer. But I guess at some point, I don't know, from the tachometer it goes to the, you know, the Clima or what, but, you know, it's after the EGR computer. That's what I was worried about, that it was before. And there is this, the circuit for this EGR computer is quite complicated. There's a lot to it, and I'll show you the computer in just a second. But the bottom pin on it, that bottom jumper wire's on, the one that's pretty much gone on the plug on the EGR computer itself, it's just about broken in half, and there's just really not much left of it. My next option was going to be to desolder. You can see these next 4 are not used. These next 4 spots, there's no wires that plug in on this side, but there is tabs on there's plugs, you know, there's terminals on the EGR computer itself. So I was going to desolder one from one of these positions and replace it down here, but I still had the issue with this plug being pretty much gone. So I was trying to figure out what to do from there, and I ran across this where the guy just jumpered those 4 terminals and got his working. And so I came out here real quick and just did that, and it works. So if, like I said, if this works, if this stays working, I don't notice any other issues, I may just come in here and splice those wires together, and we will not have the EGR computer. The EGR I've got disconnected anyway, so I guess it looks like it's connected. It's got the wire coming off of it, but it goes over there and doesn't plug into anything. And of course you can see that little solenoid there is not hooked up, and there's just, that stuff's not hooked up on here. I don't plan on running EGR. See, looks like it's hooked up, but it's not. And that's not intentional. I'm not trying to make it look like it's hooked up. They don't care here. Just that's how it is, you know. I just unhooked it over there. So let me show you that computer. All right, here's the EGR computer out of its little plastic housing, and you know, for the corrosion that was there, this thing has no signs of water in it at all. And my reading on this shows that the corrosion comes from the wiring harness itself. Water gets in through the firewall and just runs down that harness and into the plug, which makes sense because this is a weatherproof. I say it's weatherproof. It's got a little O-ring seal right here. You know, they've done a good job of trying to keep water out of this thing, but it did make it in it. So it makes sense with it all being sealed here that it probably seeped in through the wiring harness itself. But if you can see those terminals in there, see how corroded they are. This one is just, it's just about broke in half. It's so corroded down there, and I don't think it would have. I don't think there was any saving it. So my thought was to maybe take this one right here and unsolder it over here and solder it back in over here. But if we can just bypass this thing altogether, we're not using any of the EGR stuff, so there's no need of this other than to pass through. You're making for a loud video. There's no sense in, there's no use in, I have no use for this other than passing through a tach signal. So I think the best bet here, we'll put this all back together, we'll put it up on a shelf, we'll save it, or maybe we'll even just throw it back in the car. but we're gonna just jumper that Tach signal for now. So if you're trying to troubleshoot your tachometer and you've got an 85, check that. I'm trying to make a video here. Anyway, so if you're trying to troubleshoot, you might try jumpering those wires. If you're looking at it, if you're looking at your plug, it's the, let's see, it's the bottom, yeah, bottom one, and the fourth one up, I think. If you look at the plug, it's the bottom one and then the next one that actually has a contact in it, and then it's the top one and the next from the top, so first and third. I'll put a link in the description of the thread where I found this information, because it's pretty useful. They have some wiring diagrams and everything in there. So, thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.